Alvin Bragg's own star witness, Michael Cohen, just confirmed that it's all been a witch hunt after all. So today we're diving into the latest updates from the New York versus Donald Trump case. Now, it's a whirlwind of controversy with Fox News host Jesse Waters leading the charge, pointing out that Michael Cohen failed to do what he was meant to do as the star witness, which was to connect former President Donald Trump to the alleged hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. Jesse Waters argues on his show that the defense basically tore Cohen to pieces and painted the prosecution's star witness as a jilted lawyer who had been passed over for the White House chief of staff and who even had a hard time getting tickets to the inauguration. I know, yeah, pretty sad, right? I mean, even Cohen's former legal advisor, Robert Costello, jumped in and said that the prosecution in New York versus Trump has nothing that could revive their case against the former president. In Costello's words, this case is dead. It was dead on arrival, and for good reason too. Just think about it. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg tried to transform 34 misdemeanor counts into felonies. But where's the evidence of falsified records? And what about the so-called other crime that Donald Trump supposedly tried to cover up? Critics argue that Bragg's team has failed to provide evidence that the records were falsified or to specify what the other crime might be. Instead, they have resorted to stunts of dubious constitutionality and legal wordplay, attempting to paint Donald Trump's perfectly legal non-disclosure agreement with Stormy Daniels as unlawful. Senator J.D. Vance calls it a partisan witch hunt, and many agree that this trial is more about partisan politics than it is about law enforcement. Goodness knows how many weeks we are into this trial by now, but it's very clear that the prosecution has failed to present solid evidence of wrongdoing, and a lot of experts are actually saying that it should have been dismissed already. But as Senator J.D. Vance pointed out already, unfortunately, a cadre of highly partisan left-wing operatives, including the prosecutors and presiding judge, have worked in concert to sustain the prosecution, and they're singularly focused on taking Donald Trump down. Now, stick around, guys, as we unravel the latest twists and turns in this high-profile case and show you exactly how the Democrats may be setting up Donald Trump in this so-called witch hunt. You guys ready? All right, let's get started. So first, you guys have to hear from Fox News host Jesse Waters tearing down Michael Cohen's whole existence for being. Check it out.
It's day 18 in the trial for a crime that Democrats still haven't named. Michael Cohen suffering under a blistering cross-examination today. And oh boy, did he fall apart. The prosecution's entire case rested on one phone call that Michael Cohen says took place. Cohen testified that he called Trump's head of security and told him that the Stormy payment was taken care of. That was the big link between Trump and the money. Today it came out the call never happened. Trump's defense lawyers showed Cohen a sheet of text messages on the night he claims he made that call. Turns out Cohen had been getting prank calls from a 14-year-old and called Trump's security chief to ask if he could sic the Secret Service on him. Trump's defense attorney raising his voice, zeroing in on Cohen. That was a lie. You did not talk to President Trump. Cohen panicked, shifted in his seat, voice cracking. I'm not certain that's accurate, but the call logs don't lie.
Well, there you go, guys. Michael Cohen basically failing at his one and only job. He only had one job and he failed at that. As Alvin Bragg's star witness, which is to connect former President Donald Trump to the Stormy Daniels hush money payments. All right, so I've read the comments on Michael Cohen lately, and one said how the disgraced former Trump lawyer sounds like he was dropped one too many times on his head as a child. Now, that might be a little bit harsh, but I think it basically sums up people's impressions of Michael Cohen and how credible or not so credible he is in this trial against Donald Trump, a former president no less. Now, as Jesse Waters said on his show, imagine being a juror listening and you realize you just spent your whole month away from work, away from your family, to listen to a case in which the star witness is exposed as a fanatic seeking a revenge on the defendant. Jesse Waters also broke down the brutal Michael Cohen cross-examination for his viewers. Bottom line, the defense caught Cohen in lie after lie. At one point, the lawyer said, "Did you ever ask for a pardon?" Cohen says no. Then the lawyer pulled out a deposition where Cohen asked for a pardon. The whole courtroom just shakes their head. All in all, the defense painted a picture of a jilted lawyer who had been passed over for White House chief of staff and who even had a hard time getting tickets to the inauguration. Cohen was suicidal and forced to admit under oath that he had a vendetta against Donald Trump. And as Jesse Waters pointed out, if you're a juror and you hear the star witness say that, Not good. You know what else? Michael Cohen's former lawyer, Robert Costello, told Fox News that Cohen said he never had anything on Trump, which would make sense because if Cohen did have dirt on Donald, he would have handed it over to the feds on a silver platter to stay out of prison. You know what I mean? And so this is why Costello says that the prosecution in New York versus Trump has nothing that could revive their case against the former president. For Costello, the case is dead. It was dead on arrival. It never should have been brought. Should have been dismissed by the judge. Now, there's been speculation that Donald Trump's defense team could call Costello to the witness stand to lay out Cohen's credibility issues. That could definitely be something to see. But really, for Trump supporters, the jig's already up. In fact, it's been up since 2020. Because no matter how much they try to jerk Donald Trump around, his supporters are still voting for Trump. Drop a quick yes in the comments if you agree, guys. And hey, if you're finding this breakdown of the New York versus Trump case as fascinating as I do, please take a second, hit the like button for the video, and subscribe to the channel. Your support really helps our community of truth here on the channel. Each like, each share, and each subscription helps us to continue to bring you the latest updates and in-depth analysis on this and other important topics that are happening in and around America. Oh, and don't forget to click the bell icon so that you never miss a video. All right, so let's get back to it. Like what a lot of people have been saying, only the Democrats would try to drive a car on 4 flat tires. And we see that in how this whole Donald Trump prosecution has been winding down and basically proving once and for all that it has always been a witch hunt against former President Trump. Some of you guys may be familiar with the Peggy Lee song, Is That All There Is? Because in Donald Trump's Manhattan case, it's pretty clear for a lot of people that the prosecution is missing a crucial element, a crime. Sure, Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg introduced a novel legal theory, transforming 34 misdemeanor counts of business records falsification into felony charges by claiming that they were part of covering up another crime. But if you paid attention, which we're hoping the jury did, Bragg's team forgot to offer any evidence that the records were falsified, or to specify what that other crime might be, let alone prove it. Instead, the prosecution has resorted to what experts described as stunts of dubious constitutionality and legal wordplay, attempting to paint Donald Trump's perfectly legal non-disclosure agreement with Stormy Daniels as illegal hush money. The central crime in this case is vague and unfounded. It demands that Bragg enforce federal election law, which he lacks authority to even do, and basically relies on strained interpretation of that law to boot. Given the high public interest, you would expect the prosecution to present some compelling, previously unseen evidence against Trump. Yet their key witness is Michael Cohen, a convicted felon and former Donald Trump staffer whose reliability is questionable at best. Michael Cohen's own former attorney, Robert Costello, he blew him up in front of Congress as having told numerous lies under oath in the Bragg trial, which Costello also testified to during Donald Trump's grand jury. Actually, the first grand jury didn't indict, so Bragg went to the second one. The case never felt like a genuine trial, but rather a political witch hunt. If the judge doesn't dismiss this case when the prosecution rests, we hope even a deep blue NYC jury will recognize the lack of substance. Because victory here sets a dangerous precedent, putting anyone with opposing political views at risk. A victory here means you or anyone else whose politics Bragg doesn't like could be next. As Senator J.D. Vance put it, it's clear this charade is more about partisan politics than law enforcement. Unfortunately, J.D. Vance says that a cadre of highly partisan left-wing operatives, including the prosecutors and presiding judge, have worked in concert to sustain the prosecution, and they're singularly focused on taking down Donald Trump. So let's go ahead and start with District Attorney who initiated the charges against Trump. So Alvin Bragg took office in January 2022 and immediately faced an increase in major crime. But instead of prioritizing the incarceration of New York's violent crime offenders, DA Alvin Bragg instead decided to focus on fulfilling a key campaign promise, prosecuting Donald Trump. Plus, there's talk about the very significant and very questionable support coming from the left-wing super donor, George Soros, who contributed a 7-figure sum to groups airing ads in favor of DA Bragg's campaign, along with personal donations from Soros' children. Next, we should probably consider Matthew Colangelo, the prosecutor leading the case for Bragg's office. Now, you might not have thought it possible, but Colangelo has even more partisan background than Bragg. Before joining the Manhattan District Attorney's office, he was the third-ranking official at the Department of Justice, appointed on Joe Biden's first day in office. Now, he is the lead prosecutor aiming to imprison Trump. Is that a coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences, guys, but I'll let you decide on that. Not to mention, Colangelo has also served as a paid political consultant to the Democratic National Committee. That's why people are saying that the prosecution of Donald Trump is a clear attempt by the Biden political allies to keep the Republican presidential nominee entangled in in court proceedings and off the campaign trail. Then there's Judge Juan Merchan, the Democrat presiding over the trial, who has shown his bias against Trump in multiple rulings. I mean, Judge Juan Merchan himself donated to Joe Biden's 2020 presidential campaign, which has got to be in violation of the American Bar Association's Code of Judicial Conduct, you know? And this connection to the Democratic Party, it's not just financial, it's also familial, as his own daughter raises funds for Democratic candidates. In fact, her clients have been proven to be using the trial against Trump to raise campaign money. Clearly, this conflicted judge should have recused himself long ago, but instead, he issued an unconstitutional gag order against Donald Trump and basically disregarded the former president's First Amendment rights. Meanwhile, prosecution witnesses, mainly Michael Cohen, have been allowed to verbally attack Donald Trump openly while he's barred from commenting anything on the trial's conduct. Finally, let's talk about the prosecution's so-called star witness, convicted felon and admitted liar, Michael Cohen. I know we talked about it at the beginning of this video, but it bears repeating. So the case against former President Donald Trump heavily relies on Cohen's testimony, despite his history of lying to Congress, federal investigators, and a whole laundry list of others. I mean, you see it too, right, guys? The prosecution could hardly have chosen a less credible witness. Since the trial began in April, Donald Trump spent countless days stuck in a New York City courthouse, time that he could have used for campaign stops in oh-so-important swing states. Republicans point out how this case has always been more about hindering Donald Trump's campaign than enforcing the law. And people say that it's time for the blatant election interference to end. But hey, there's always the power of the vote, right? Donald Trump voters are ready to deliver a very clear message to the Democrats responsible by re-electing Donald Trump on November 5th. Am I right, guys? And well, there you have it. Another deep dive into the ongoing saga of New York versus Donald Trump. From star witness Michael Cohen's credibility being shredded to bits, to the very dubious, very questionable legality of DA Alvin Bragg's charges, it's very clear that this case has more holes than Swiss cheese. As many legal experts have pointed out, this so-called witch hunt is exposing itself as a politically charged maneuver rather than a genuine quest for justice. But what do you guys think? Is this trial a legitimate effort to hold Donald Trump accountable, or is it just another attempt to derail his political career? Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let's get this conversation started. And hey, if you found today's video helpful, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss an update. Appreciate y'all rocking with me. Thanks for sharing these videos. I'll see you on the next one.